another episode of Miller's Old Mitsubishis. I'm Christopher Miller and these are my Colts. So I'm here today with Jeremiah. He's gonna kind of give me a little questionnaire. He's gonna ask me a question, I'm gonna give an answer, so we can kind of see where this all started, where it's going. I know everybody's got a lot of questions out there, so I'm gonna leave this one to you to leave some comments down below. I want to see what you guys, you know, nobody really tells me what they want. I want to know what you guys want more of. So we're going to do this. That way it'll fill you in on some questions you might already had and leave the opportunity open for you to leave some more below. So anyway, Jeremiah, why don't you start off? You have some questions for me?
Yeah, where exactly are you from, Chris?
I'm from a place called Moravia, New York. It's the middle of central New York in the Finger Lakes region. The Finger Lakes are a series of kind of long lakes that if you look at from up above on a map, it looks sort of like fingers. The Indians named it because they said that God placed his hand there to rest when he was done making the earth. So it's kind of a cool place. We got a lot of wine, local grape farms and stuff like that. And a lot of people come up here to go out on their boats in the summertime and tour the place. So it's kind of cool. There's a lot of fishing and stuff like that. But other than that, there's not a lot going on. So we don't have a lot of machine shops. We don't have a lot of you know, places I can go to get go-fast parts and stuff like that for my car. So if you want to get on a list for some body work, it's going to take you a couple of years. So it's that kind of an area that I live in. There's more cows and corn than there are people.
All right. Where do your interest in classic Mitsubishi cars come from?
Well, when I was 19 years old, I was driving down the road in this little town called McLean. It's another place like this nearby. And I saw this blue car on the side of the road, and I was like, whoa, we got to pull over. This thing looked like a spaceship. It was a 1988 Chrysler Conquest TSI in Fiji blue, and I didn't know about it then, but it was what they called it. It had the SHP package, the sports handling package, so it was the top of the line. It had black leather interior, it had a sunroof, and the car only had like 47,000 miles on it. They wanted $3,500 for it, and I definitely didn't have that, but I had to have the car, so we made it work. I went to the bank and worked out a loan with them and ended up with a car. So that car, you know, they called it a Chrysler Conquest. It was really just a Mitsubishi Starion. So they call that a captive import, kind of like my Colt here. They call that a Dodge Colt here in the United States, but elsewhere in the world, it was actually a first-gen Mitsubishi Galant. So this is a Mitsubishi Galant hardtop. They call it a 16L in other places. So that is one of the first hardtop cars in Japan, and one of the first hardtop cars that Mitsubishi made. So anyway, that's kind of where my love for the classic Mitsubishi came from.
Okay. Tell us about this nice engine you got here. It's beautiful.
So what this is here, this is actually out of a Conquest or a Starion. This is a Mitsubishi G54B. Here, let me take this off. This is actually just on here to keep the dust out. This definitely won't work on there. It's way too small. Anyway, so what we have here is a Mitsubishi G54B. It came out of a Conquest. Actually, the VIN on the back, you can see on the back of the block. If you decode it, you can see it's from an 89 car. So they also put these things in forklifts. So that was kind of a cool thing that they use these in a broad range of cars. Even Hyundai used them in some of their products. So anyway, I just remembered what it was like in my Conquest, and that was in stock form. That was like 185 horsepower at the crank. And so I built one of these for my truck that I had. I had a little Dodge Ram 50, and that truck was super fast, and I thought it was really cool. So I wanted to build kind of the pinnacle, the best that you could do. And this engine actually has a lot of one-off parts on it. And I've done a lot of work. I've had to put together a lot of bonds with people all over the world so that I could, you know, kind of make the best engine that I could make. I want this to be the nicest G54B that's ever existed, as far as, you know, it's not going to be the most powerful that's ever existed because I only have a Precision 6262. I don't have a 100 millimeter turbo on here, so it's, you know, it's not going to be 1,000 horsepower. However, it's going to be more reliable. I've built it with all the best components on the inside. It's got a custom head on it built by Brian Arnone. It's got some one-off titanium valves in it. So it's a really nice roller rocker setup with a 296 cam in it. This is a CPC intake from Australia. My friend Ariel, Banco in Australia, he designed this for me. We actually had to redesign an intake that he'd made for Mr. 2600 Racing. He had to redesign it because it was going to hit our brake boosters on our left-hand drive cars. So we actually redesigned the entire plenum, still for maximum velocity and minimal turbulence. So it's going to be great. And then also it's got direct nitrous ports on the bottom of it. He offered either a cable actuated throttle body or drive-by-wire by Bosch. I opted for this, but I'm actually going to use a drive-by-wire actuator out here. I kind of changed my mind along the way, but part of the reason was because I wanted this 76 millimeter or 3-inch throttle body. I didn't want to go any bigger, and that was what the options were for the drive-by-wire. And then I had to make these valve covers for us. He had actually already made a series of these. Mr. 2600 Racing, Paul Testa in Australia, who also has a Colt, who's one of my inspirations for this project here. He had designed this valve cover, this rocker cover, I should say. It's had a couple of tweaks since then. I got it without a logo, and it's the only one that's just like this in the world. But what we did is we made 15 of them, and this one's mine. So I've developed a bond with CPC in Australia, and that's what we've done.
Now tell us, Chris, is this was this the original intention of this engine, or did you start with this engine in the midst of something else?
You know, I had one in my truck, and I really liked what it would do, and I actually ended up with a Colt. When I got the truck, it popped up, and I just had to have it. So it was in really good shape. It's a California car. It's really rust-free, and I wanted something really cool that you didn't see a lot of. And I figured it was a really good candidate to throw this in. So I ended up selling my truck to a buddy of mine, and I sold all the engine parts individually all over the place, and ended up with some extra money, and that's how it kind of kicked this all off and put these two things together.
So can you tell us a little bit more, how did you become associated with CPC in Australia?
Well, funny thing, I wanted an intake. This was a few years ago, and so he had made 2 or 3 of them, maybe 5 of them in a run originally, for a couple of guys that were doing some stuff in Australia. They're like I said, they were quite a bit bigger. They wouldn't fit in our left-hand drive cars, and so anyway, I asked CPC if I could get one and how much it was and everything, and he told me the price, but then he got back to me a couple weeks later and said, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that because I don't make any money doing one-off stuff anymore. So I thought about it, and a couple days later I got back to him and I said, hey, what if I sold a bunch of these things for you? Do you think if you did that, then maybe it would make it worth it? And he said, yeah, sure. And I don't know if he thought I could do it. I believe he had full confidence from the beginning. So I ended up selling like 19 of these, and I got the 20th one. He ended up, because I did all that work, basically I worked for this intake manifold. It's the only one in the world that is this color scheme. And then we did the same thing with this rocker cover. I got with him in February, and I said, hey man, what do we have to do to get some of those? And he said, well, let's sell 15 of them. So I sold 14, and he ended up sponsoring me on this one. So a lot of this build's been sponsored by CPC because I think he wants to see the most polished G54B he's ever seen also. I've also formed some connections with a guy named Michael Broughton in Australia, and I hope I said that right. It might be Broughton. I'm not sure. Don't sue me, right? But anyway, he also makes a lot of parts. It's kind of on his spare time. He has a full-time job and a family, but he makes some parts. So he's got a coil-on plug bracket that I've got coming from him. I'm going to show you guys a picture of that over here. You'll see all the stuff I got coming. So I'm going to use a distributor here, and it's just going to be my cam position because I don't have any other way to pull cam position. So I actually have a cap that he's sending me, a billet cap, because I'm not going to use plug wires, so I don't need that ugly plastic cap on there. And I've got a water pump block-off plate coming because I'm going to be using an electrical water pump. There's a lot of reasons behind that. We'll go over that in another episode. I've got a new alternator bracket coming. This is kind of my prototype here, but his design actually, this is a Chevrolet CS130 housing, but this is a DC Power Engineering made alternator, so it's actually got a billet front and back on it. They made that for me, and they actually took the time to match the color for me, so that it would match my intake and everything else. So anyway, he's got an alternator bracket coming for me. I've got some strut tops for the Colt coming, so that I can use some coil overs on the Colt. I've got a bunch of other stuff. I'll show you a picture of it so you can just see what we got there, and I'll label it all, whatever. So we got some cool stuff coming. The next thing I want to do is I want to do a billet water neck on this, so that my thermostat housing here, it's not really positioned in a spot that's conducive to clean routing here for my fuel pressure regulator or anything like that. So I got to clean this up. Over here on the side you can see I've actually started my own company because I've been doing the marketing and sales for CPC. I did a group run on some parts for 4G Race Design, Michael Broughton, and now I've been designing my own stuff with my brother. We're calling that 3MI. It's Miller Motorsports Marketing International. We're about to get ourselves a DBA and start doing business. But we've designed this because the original sheet metal cover, I'll show you that, it's hard to get the O-ring for the outside. It doesn't seal well. It's got to have 2 O-rings in here. So what we've done is designed a flat gasket that goes against the mating surface, and then this is going to be a billet aluminum piece here that can be anodized any color you want. So that's something that we've been working on. So that's kind of where that comes from. I didn't tell you before, but another connection that I've made was with a fellow named Chad Samuel, who's really big into the G54B and the StarQuest community, and he designed this turbo header for me. So this is an equal length header. It's got my tile stainless steel wastegate down below. My downpipe will come off of the back of the turbo, and there's going to be a flex pipe between where this connects to the downpipe and the and here. And there's going to also be a flex pipe in my downpipe, so I don't have to worry about any cracking or any stress on my studs or anything like that. So that's another cool thing. So anyway, that's where we're at now. I've got a lot to come in the future, so you'll have to stay tuned and check it out. You guys, I've had quite a few new subscribers since the last video. You guys share this and like and subscribe. Just make sure that if you are watching it, to sign in. If you're on Facebook, sometimes it's a pain because you try to like something on Facebook, it says please sign in, but go ahead and sign in, and make sure you hit that bell over there so that when I put up a new video, it pops up and you can see it right away. So that's kind of where we're at. So make sure you guys tune in next time, and if you have any questions, make sure you put them down below, because I want to hear what you guys think. I want to know what you guys want me to do. I want to know what the next step is that comes from you guys. I keep coming up with all the ideas myself, and I want some of your ideas incorporated in this project, because this is going to be the coolest Colt in the world. We've got some exciting news as far as the body work. That's going to be in the next video. So that's actually commencing, and it's going to be beautiful gold, candy gold that matches all of these parts here, so that it can really pop. Because when I go to shows, I want to get best import, I want to get best paint, best to show. That's the goal. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that's possible. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Miller's Old Mitsubishis. Thanks a lot, Jeremiah, for the help.